Hi everyone, welcome back to the Purple House. Peter Grade here today, and we want to share a little bit of information about children. We see a lot of children in our facilities. Maybe lots of people are probably not aware of it yet. Mind you, there are lots of school teachers around the district as far away as Smithton and Launceston who will recommend to the parents to have their child checked out or checked over by either Pete or me, and that is often then for behaviors or disruptive behavior at school or not keeping up with academically speaking and so on. So children are part of our clientele. So some of the things that bring some of the issues that parents come to us with are things like what I just already said, like ADHD is very common.
Yeah, often parents don't want their children to go on drugs for ADHD, so they can't.
I guess what I'm trying to say is they come here, by the time they come here, they already often have a label, and labels are difficult to get rid of, right? They stick. So a label can be your child is lazy, your child is naughty, your child is disruptive, getting behind, or like ADHD is even a label. So we definitely don't diagnose anyone ever. When people bring their child here, we look at the whole picture and we get to the bottom of the issues, and then Pete and I, we look at it from different angles. So like sometimes can have a spiritual angle, energetically, mental, and then physical as well, and emotional. So on a physical level, what we found more and more so in the last 3 years is that the children's blood sugar level is often way too high.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I did tests on a child one time, and they had higher urea levels in the urine than a lot of adults I see, which one of the urea levels indicates liver stress, and yeah, it was pointing towards fatty liver, really, as far as that goes, and it was a 5-year-old, I think. Yeah.
That's right. So fatty liver, people, there's a misconception there too. People think that's caused by drinking too much alcohol. But of course, this child wasn't having any alcohol and it still had fatty liver. Also, which is quite shocking, like this is not something that we had to deal with as often 20 years ago.
No.
So every 5 years, and when we look back, we've been seeing clients now for over 20 years, 25 years nearly. It's like every 5 years we need to do a stock take almost and think, wow, what's happening today that we didn't really come across that much 5 years ago. So fatty liver is one, and high blood sugar levels is of course totally prevalent now. And then
we see
high blood pressure as well.
We're seeing type 2 diabetes in teenagers now.
Exactly.
In society, which was unheard of. It was adult onset diabetes, it was called. But
yeah. And then also some teenagers, they're medicated for high blood pressure, which is also really incredible. Like back in the days, back in a long time ago, high blood pressure was some tablets, was something that was given to people over 60, then it became over 50, and then like it's younger and younger.
Children on I don't know how young, on antidepressants. It's criminal, really.
Yeah. So I guess today we're just sharing a little bit of stuff with you that we see regularly every week in our rooms that you would be shocked if you were conscious of it. And so we are making you a little bit aware of the new normal, which is not a good new normal. Pete and I are still hoping that things are going to go back in the other direction, where people get healthier, younger, rather than sicker earlier, because it seems as if society is definitely getting sicker, younger and faster. And so we want to also tell you some good stories. Is that okay or what? Oh,
well,
sure.
Some some kids have been brought to us because their parents don't want them to go on Ritalin for ADHD, and the teachers, I can understand teachers not wanting children climbing the walls and disrupting the class all the time, and so they have wanted the parents to take them to the GP and get them put on Ritalin, but the parents didn't want, so they brought them to us, and they, well, it was quick time, and it was 2 or 3 weeks they had perfect kids again when they took on board what we recommended.
And if you want to know what we recommend, please join our email list, and we can give you some more in-depth information that we can't really share on social media. But we can tell you, by the way, about diet.
Yeah, we can say that our brain takes 25% of our energy, so to make it work properly, we need to give it a good energy source all day long, not one that goes up and down all the time, like sugars and high starch carbohydrates give us a yo-yo energy. Fats, by far, give us the best energy for our brain, and
lots of fats, by the way.
So
you have to literally start thinking, how can I get fats into my child? So let's say you front up to us with a little 7-year-old that has lots of issues, maybe even nightmares and other nervy issues. First of all, you look at your child's hand, so like the palms of the hand, like these are mine, and then you need to remember they need 3 meals a day that fills their palm, not the whole hand, like the palm of the hand. So 2 palms, that's all they need 3 times a day.
That's all their stomach will fit.
Yeah, and it needs, one hand almost needs to be good fats. So like good fats is like butter, especially organic butter, like slices of butter, cream, meat fats, bacon fats.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil is like a really good plant oil, but what really calms children and nourishes and restores their nervous system is meat fats. So bone broth, you can cook bone broth and just get it, get yourself one of those pressure cookers that's also a slow cooker, and get bones from the butchers, find a good butcher, and cook at least 1 or 2 lots of those every week. So bone broth has a lot of good fats and it pulls out the nutrients out of the bone that nourishes your child from the inside out.
And our developing brain, or children's developing brains, need animal fats. They need a substance called DHA, which is only found in animal fat.
Yeah.
And they need that to develop properly. If you don't give your children good animal fats, they get it from their mother in utero and being breastfed, but then after that, it's only in animal fats, and you're abusing your children in a way by not giving them good lots of animal fats.
Well, we did the same, so it sounds harsh, but Pete and I made quite a few mistakes.
Well,
so we have 6 children, I'll just quickly fill you in, ranging now from 41 to 29, so we have to go a long way back. So back in the days, and I mean, I was like super conscious, super motivated mom. I wanted to do everything right. I was natural. I didn't even have Panadol in the house or nothing, because I always wanted to do everything natural. So I baked my own bread. At one point I even used to grind my own grain with a hand mill. That's like, I just wanted the food from the source where it was grown, right? So very extreme in my children's opinion, but anyway, we still got lots of stuff wrong, right? I still had children with ADHD, I had children with asthma.
It wasn't called ADHD.
No, they were just like...
They were hyperactive.
That's right. We also didn't have television, so I don't know even how I survived all those years with 6 very lively kids. I just want to point out that Pete and I read lots of books. It was before the internet, so I wanted to get things right. So what did I do? I didn't give the children much fat, because like low fat in the days, like 70s and 80s and 90s, everything was meant to be low fat, that was meant to be healthy for you. So we also didn't have butter, so we used Nuttelex, because that was supposed to be good for you. But now, I mean, after many years, I realized that was toxic. All my children were breastfed for a long time, so that was good, but Then I still bought this infant formula which was made from soy milk, which is absolutely the worst product for your child, because soy is a hormone disruptor, so they didn't get enough fats. They got a dose of soy milk for probably a year or so after. They ate way too much grain because I made my own bread, and then we had porridge for breakfast.
And we didn't use much salt.
And we didn't, so they were mineral deficient. What else? They were the big things that we had like lots and lots of vegetables, because we always had like a huge vegetable garden. So, and because we were poor, we were like super poor back in the days, because we lived on one wage and we always had a big mortgage. And we lived off the smell of an oily rag, so, which kind of saved us in a way, because we didn't really have money for dessert, and we also never went out for meals. So that kind of saved the kids from a lot of rubbish. But for dessert we had like homemade yogurt, but I reckon I used low-fat milk probably to make the yogurt. And then we didn't have money for sweets, and plus I didn't believe in sweets anyway. I wanted to protect my children from sugars. But once a week we would have a tin of fruit salad. So the 8 of us then had to fight, you know, and measure, some of the kids wanted to measure the pieces of fruit, so they all got the same amount.
Anyway. we had a couple of unexpected visitors one time from overseas. They arrived, I'm not sure, a couple of young guys.
On motorbikes.
We had a Nana's apple pie in the freezer that we
kept for special occasions.
Brought out for dessert. And we said, who would like some apple pie? And one of these guys said, I'll have a little piece. And I laughed. I said, yeah, you will be only having a little piece, because there has to go around 10 of us.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just a little pie like that. So we were kind of used. So that saved our children, because they didn't have much sugar. But so like they didn't have enough fat, so that grieves me now when you think about it, that I could have given them more fats. And also they had a lot of vegetables, and not all vegetables are good for people either, right? So I've learned a lot about that as well. Thankfully we also had fermented vegetables, so that kind of made up for it again. So what Peter said, it's just sometimes so every parent means so well, I totally get it, and you don't have the time and energy to study and find out what's hidden behind popular science, because popular science, by the way, changes every 5 years just about. We've seen that in our work, so every 5 years it's like, oh yeah, there's a new idea.
Eggs are bad for you now.
So the best thing for your child is lots of salt, so like unpurified salt, not your normal kitchen salt, and just put it in a little container on the bench so that they can lick it. You can actually teach them how to lick it so they can help themselves. One time I had a little child with skin rashes, and when she started walking, I said to the mom, well, just allow her to put the salt where she can reach, and she did exactly that. And within a few months her skin rashes cleared up. So, because the child is always mineral deficient. And some people...
They have the instinct to know how much they need up to... Yeah. We have that up to the age of about 7 or 8. And then we lose it.
Exactly. We've had children who were severely constipated, right? And like chronic issues with constipation. And they've been everywhere as well. So what those children need, they all, other than a session where we can balance their organs and stuff, they also need more fats. Like, because fats really help your body to detox itself, and then that goes into the toilet. And again, it's a lie that you need, what do they call it again? Fiber. You don't need fiber. If you have enough healthy fats in your body, you don't need fiber. Fiber, again, can irritate your body and also irritate children, because fibers are made from grain, and a lot of people have way, way too much grain in their body. So if I had my children all over again, I would probably give them eggs and bacon for breakfast, a bone broth soup for lunch, and make it really yummy. I do that anyway. Like yesterday I gave a pot of bone broth to my younger son and his wife and kids, and then I also, because one of them had a snotty nose, and then I gave a pot of bone broth away to my son-in-law whose ankle bone isn't healing very well. He broke his ankle last year. And so if I thought yesterday, if I ever die on my funeral, they're just going to talk about my soup. That's it. Because I'm always making soup. I'll be remembered as the soup lady, I reckon. And then for tea, I would give my children more meat, like from a kind farmer, right? So make sure that it's ethically grown. And that's it. One of our grandchildren actually had to be on an all-meat diet when he was 5 because he had such really severe autoimmune problems that was killing his body, and then it was attacking his eyeballs. His immune system was destroying his eyeballs. And at that time he was already on a super, super strict diet. And then we had to just cut everything out except for meat, fats and salt and water. And within 6 months his eyes were completely clear.
It was 3 months. Mm-hmm. The inflammation had disappeared.
With little children, diet is huge. It's absolutely it's one thing that you can do. You can do that at home. So why is fat good for your brain? Do you want to go into the nitty-gritty? I can tell you, but you just say why it's good for your brain.
Your brain is 70% fat if you take all the water out of it. And
your behaviours come from your brain, right? It's
nearly all neurons flicking away, and those nerves or neurons have a coating round of saturated fat and cholesterol, and that stops them shorting out. So we need to have lots of cholesterol and saturated fat in our diet to stop our nerves shorting.
And cholesterol is very healthy, by the way. So you're never going to get high cholesterol in your body from eating cholesterol. So that's another lie, that we used to worry about. We used to have our own chooks. We've always had our own chooks. And back in the days, 40 years ago, we used to think eggs had to do with high cholesterol. Well, that's a lie. So you can eat 10 eggs a day and be super, super healthy. The more the better, right? Unless you have an allergy towards eggs. That could be the case. So if you have food allergies or sensitivities, or you suspect that you have, Pete and I can actually determine what you're allergic to, and we can do that very, very quickly.
And I tell young parents now, if their child doesn't like something, they protest and say they don't want it, listen to them, please.
Yeah, usually.
Because they have the instinct to know what their body likes and doesn't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, unless it comes to lollies, of course. Because I used to be the lolly police and the food police and everything. Pete was away a lot working, and my mum, who was my role model in how to be the exact opposite. So my mum always had a lot of aches and pains in her body. She suffered a lot of sicknesses all her life, and she was a terrible sweet tooth. So right from probably when I was 5, I decided I'm going to be different to my mum. So I quit sugar myself very, very young. But my mum used to come and visit us with bags of lollies and Mars bars, and oh, Smarties, they're the worst. And she just didn't get it, that I didn't want that for my children. So the second she left, I would dump the whole lot in a rubbish bin. And sometimes, if I wasn't careful, my children would find it in a rubbish bin. They would nearly die. The rubbish bin had turned into a lolly shop. But I wouldn't let them have it. But sometimes my mum would actually sneak it into them behind my back. So it was a little bit of a power struggle that I had with her. Yeah, so don't be a grandma like that if you're my age, if you know what I mean. There are plenty, it's hard enough for young mums anyway to find the right way for their child without you pulling them in the other direction, right? So I always feel like I respect my daughters and daughters-in-law when it comes to, of course it's their children. It's not my role to sneak things in behind their backs or undermine the mum, right? So carbohydrates are all the yummy foods, right? Carbohydrates include fruit, pasta, potatoes.
Particularly nice, freshly baked bread.
Chickpeas, pretty much all the vegetables, all the fruit juices, all lollies, all sugar, pretty much the whole supermarket is full of carbohydrates. I just want you to know there is no essential carbohydrate for your body. That means your body does very well without carbohydrates. You have to be surprised how well it does without carbohydrates, and your child's issues will disappear when you minimize carbs. Well, they will improve, I should say.
Yeah, the essential things really are your minerals and trace minerals, which we don't get in the food we eat, and
in the form of unrefined salt,
and then fats and proteins, and we can get
especially the fats.
Get that in meat fat. And
so if you go to the butcher, you buy regular meats, not the lean meats, right?
Actually,
organ meat is good.
I think I put on a pot of bone broth that might be boiling away for lunch.
Oh, okay, you better go then. Okay, Pete's soup is bubbling.
Have a good week, people. See you next week.
I'll finish up with there are lots and lots of stories that we can share with you to give you hope. So like if you bring your child to us, you don't even need to know the solution, of course, right? So sometimes people bring a child and they expect, they want to tell us everything, so it's easy for us to figure out what's wrong with your child. But we have certain ways of looking at your child. And we're very, very experienced. So even you don't need to tell us anything. So we've worked with children who can't talk, so children who are non-verbal, teenagers who are non-verbal. And we have a way of setting up connection with the child's body that is beyond words. And so one time I had to treat a little girl who was also non-verbal, and on top of that she was incredibly constipated and she had many other issues and challenges. Comes from a very, very loving family, and every fortnight they had big trauma in the house because the child had issues with doing a poop, doing a number 2, and she only ever wanted to do that in the garden or in the bathroom, in the bath, not the toilet. She never wanted to sit on the toilet, and she was extremely constipated. And during the first session I was able to release something inside her body, like the mechanics. If you think of a computer, maybe you can compare it. She had the wrong program running, so I pulled it out and put in a new program. And I said to the mom, she'll be able to do a poo tonight, and she will be, that's the end of your problems with her. And it's true, she rang me the next day and said, yeah, all excited. My little girl did a poo on the toilet, and she also at the same time started to find words, so she was starting to piece words together. And then she also, the pooing was never an issue anymore. She just went to the toilet from that time on. And she started to become a really, really good reader at school. And then within a year or so, she was like the top reader at school. So she had lots of other challenges, of course, but it's about, I don't know, finding, Pete and I, we just work with what presents for us, and then we set about doing the corrections. And then also, of course, a big part of our job is educating the parents, so you don't make the same mistakes that Pete and I made with our children, even though they've turned out fine. But I mean, life can always be better, right? It can always be finer, easier, better, without, not as stressful. And I wish I could have been listening to a person like myself, who I am today, when I was 20, when I was struggling with a house full of noisy kids. So hope you found this interesting. If you're struggling or overwhelmed or stressed about your child, please book in for a session with either Peter or me. And there are many solutions here that you've probably never heard of yet. So Pete and I are here to support you, and we respect you, and we really, really value the parents in our community. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a really wonderful week. Talk soon. Bye.